So in Romeo and Juliet, the people that made it impossible for Romeo and Juliet to live happily and openly together, bury their differences, they would not make the same mistakes again. If any other Capulet and Montague nephews and nieces fall in love, they would be allowed to be together, will not need to devise extraordinarily elaborate plans involving sleeping potions that ultimately go wrong and result in death. And this is the crucial difference with Blackman's Noughts and Crosses. The ending is far more bleak. Callum is hung in a public arena with Sephi amongst a huge crowd watching on, appalled. The two heartbreakingly call out to each other, affirm their feelings of love, until Callum's neck is snapped by the hangman's rope, leaving him unable to finish the line, "Sephi, I love..." Now, the technical reasons why Callum was hung are varied, but essentially boil down to his vastly inferior and despised status as a Nought. Whereas a single feud between two families can be relatively quickly resolved in Romeo and Juliet, the society depicted within Noughts and Crosses cannot be changed anywhere near as easily. How can you possibly transform overnight a society which institutionalised prejudice and provides vast wealth and privilege to one group of people at the expense of another? The ending to Blackman's Noughts and Crosses leaves the reader gasping at the tragedy of a young man's totally unjustified death, and torn apart by the realisation that his world is likely to produce further tragedy for anyone who dares to challenge the status quo. Romeo and Juliet do not die in vain. Callum arguably does. And so it is right that her novel is called Noughts and Crosses rather than Callum and Sephi. For Blackman doesn't just want us to think about two young people, but society as a whole. Perhaps it is fitting, then, that Blackman's narrative rarely shows the beauty of youthful love, as this would detract from the overall bleak nature of the narrative. Indeed, it is apt when the two finally consummate their relationship, finally make love. It is when Callum has joined the Liberation Militia, the Noughts terrorist group, and captured his childhood best friends. In fact, the pair never get to be together on an equal footing. At the beginning of the novel, Callum is very much subservient to Sephi, meeting her at her beach and grudgingly being admitted to her school, living as he does as a Nought within a Crosses world. Here, the roles are reversed, with Callum now in control, having trapped Sephi within a wretched dark cell with a 40-watt bulb and no windows. The setting is incredibly anti-romantic, yet Blackman's narrative shows how passion generated by love can override your surroundings, help you temporarily forget your current situations, ignore your political beliefs and differences. Sephi describes the moment she began kissing Callum. It was as if we'd both caught fire, sort of like spontaneous combustion, and we were burning up together. Fire is red hot, virtually impossible to control, and can spread very easily. And this simile highlights the fact that Callum and Sephi simply cannot turn off their passionate feelings towards each other, resulting in the pair losing their virginity under extraordinary circumstances. It is a rare moment of ecstasy for both Callum and Sephi. Sephi writes, "Never had I felt so scared and exhilarated and alive at once." The three adjectives and pounding ands show how invigorated and euphoric Sephi feels about her physical intimacy with Callum, in spite of being a hostage, in spite of expecting to die, in spite of dismal surroundings. Yet, this is a rare shimmer of happiness in her relationship with Callum, for Blackman shows that only fleeting moments of genuine happiness are possible in this deeply divided world of hatred, and that there is usually a price to pay for even these. Whereas Callum and Sephi consummate their relationship within a bare underground cell, Romeo and Juliet make love in Juliet's bedroom. Their language is poetic, with the pair desperate to spend as long as possible with each other. By this stage, Romeo has been exiled from Verona for killing Juliet's cousin Tybalt, and so must leave before morning to ensure his survival. In Act 3, Scene 1, the prince made it clear that if Romeo were to be found in Verona, that hour is his last, so he would be killed immediately. Juliet refers to the beautiful sounds of birds that certainly Sephi would never have heard within her underground cavern. "Wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. It was the nightingale, and not the lark, that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear." Nightingales are usually heard singing at night, whereas larks start singing at dawn. By referring to these birds, Juliet is implicitly showing an awareness of the beauty of nature, as well as trying to kid both herself and Romeo that they have more time to be together. Romeo, recognising the extreme peril of his situation, is unable to back up his loved one on this point, and instead uses beautiful imagery to state, "Night's candles are burnt out, and jocund day stands tiptoe on the misty mountain tops. I must be gone and live, or stay and die." The metaphor about night conjures up images of candles burning gently in the dark sky, or glimmering stars, whilst the personification of the new day standing on tiptoe makes daytime seem like a benign, friendly, majestic giant. Romeo and Juliet's love is not ordinary commonplace, and so it is fitting that their language also aims to transcend the everyday, reflect the beauty of their inner feelings. A crucial difference between Romeo and Juliet's relationship and Callum and Seffi's is that the Shakespearean pair are able to temporarily lose themselves in their love and feelings, forget their family's differences. Even after Seffi has just made love to Callum, she still has a gnawing sense of the impossibility of their relationship. Lying next to Callum in bed, she describes him as leading her into a real, unreal world. Not quite heaven, not quite hell. The use of antithesis, direct opposites within a sentence, the use of real and unreal, heaven and hell, indicate that Seffi, however hard she tries, is unable to completely forget the impossibility of the situation she finds herself in, a cross lying next to a man whom society deems dirt and naught. Their lovemaking may have produced a temporary moment of heaven, but in the back of her mind there remains a niggling sensation that the consequences will be hell. What of course is particularly interesting about Blackman's novel is the racial identity of the Noughts and Crosses. Callum as a Nought is a white man living in a world in which Seffi and Crosses as black people hold all the cards, all the power, all the opportunities to make something of their lives. This is a deliberate reversal of historical precedents in which white Europeans used black people as slaves and then later treated them as third-rate citizens within their own countries. From the apartheid in South Africa to the shooting of Martin Luther King, from ludicrous claims about Barack Obama's Americanism to the recent monkey chant aimed at black England under-21 players in Serbia. Even recent history shows how black people have been subject to discrimination, abuse and inequality of opportunity. So in reversing historical precedent, Blackman is urging her white readers to emotionally identify with the abused, feel the agony and injustice of discrimination, and share both Callum and Seffi's pain, for, deep inside her soul, Seffi is someone who wants society changed. Whereas the ending of Romeo and Juliet leaves the audience in tears, as Romeo kills himself, believing Juliet is dead.
Eyes look your last. Arm take your last embrace. And lips owe you the doors to breath. Seal with a righteous kiss.
But it is tears of a personal nature at the futility of the premature and needless death of two young people. The tears we shed at the end of Noughts and Crosses, as we see Callum heartbreakingly, Jesus says, hung, not on but by the crosses, are different. Callum may be dead, and the society in which he lives may not seem to show any signs of change. However, what about the world we all inhabit? What about the racism that still exists today? By experiencing the prejudice and pointless hatred of the fictional world of Noughts and Crosses, Blackman is surely asking her millions of readers to reflect on our own societies, our own views, our own prejudices. And with reflection, thoughts and some discussion, change can occur. She hopes. You've been watching Schofield on Shakespeare. Good morning.